This week, we're heading back to Geonosis to deal with some bugs and a couple of zombie bugs, too, along the way. Clone Wars Season 2, Episode 5 through 8 coming up. Stick around. Howdy, Spacers. Welcome to Star Wars Safespace, your non-toxic, low-sodium Star Wars show that doesn't make you feel bad for not knowing that Ewan McGregor has been Obi-Wan Kenobi for 25 years. So hopefully you're not feeling too old. So whether you're a hardcore fan or just a little Swarzy curious, this is indeed your Star Wars safe space. We are the Circle of Nerds, and we do absolutely love Star Wars, even if we don't always like it. So let's meet the crew, shall we? From my left to your right, it is the sensational Sherry, a.k.a. the Bog Witch.
Hello, everyone.
That was kind of spooky.
That was spooky. Ooh.
That was spooky. And hailing from parts unknown, it is T to the Oni.
Welcome back to the galaxy.
Looking very Sith Lordy. And sounding like he needs a cough drop.
He sounded Sith. Damn.
He did very Sithy and smoky.
That's right.
And pilot of the infamous Parma Flyer, it is Crash.
Hi, guys. You know we got Y-Wings this week, so I had to be here.
We did get Y-Wings this week. And they were rocking it too, aren't they?
Oh, my gosh.
They did. They definitely swooped in and saved the day for sure. And I am Tommy D, your slightly obnoxious Star Wars know-it-all. So what are we doing here? We are on a mission to watch all of the Star Wars canon films and TV shows in chronological order, breaking them down, connecting the dots, and learning a little more about Star Wars and maybe even about ourselves along the way. So just a warning, there will be spoilers, so be prepared for that. So this week, we continue on with season 2 of the Clone Wars with episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8, which released on in November and December of 2009 and take place 21 BBY. And that is 21 years before the Battle of Yavin. So if you're not familiar with BBY, ABY terms, the events in Star Wars New Hope, the very first Star Wars film, which released in 1977, are considered year zero on the timeline. So anything taking place before the Battle of Yavin is considered BBY. Anything taking place after is ABY. So you will be hearing us talking a little bit about that. So season 2 is definitely a bit darker and a bit more gritty, I guess people like to say, than season 1. And this week, these 4 episodes, it's all just battle. I mean, this was just, for the most part, nonstop action in all 4 of these episodes, starting with landing at Point Rain. We're returning to Geonosis. We're retaking the planet, and man, did it get out of control fast. Like any war, we're seeing, the fog of war. We're seeing the confusion on the battlefield. People are getting killed left and right. I don't think we had anybody for our wall of remembrance.
We did. I thought you wrote it down.
We did. I'm sorry. Yes. Trash Talk Trooper.
Talk Trooper.
Yes. If you guys remember him, he was like, a good thing these clankers, are bad shots or whatever.
Yeah. And then
his whole transport blew up. So Trash Talk Trooper. Didn't see it coming, but thoughts and prayers to you, buddy. So we did see a lot of parallels between this story arc in this episode in particular, and World War II movies, films. Lucas, George Lucas drew on those. I'm getting an echo. Are you guys hearing that too?
How about
that? Sounds like a Bad Batch joke.
An echo? Yeah.
I had to lower my mic.
They actually did that joke too one time. He said, "Is there an echo in here?" And he goes, "Yeah, me."
Oh my goodness. But so this episode was just kind of a nice proper battle. I think. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of there was some nice character interaction, between the Jedi. There was some, they're kind of trading shots. Obi-Wan is always snarky, Ahsoka's Ahsoka, so there was a little bit of back and forth there between everybody, but I don't think we saw a whole lot in terms of growth or character progression or anything like that. What do you guys think?
No, I think there's a lot of teamwork. I mean, trying to get through it.
As far as our main characters are concerned, no, but it was, you do see some growth amongst the clones.
Yeah.
That's true. That is very true.
Absolutely.
And you were talking about.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you were talking about the World War II influences George Lucas. Dave Filoni went hard on this episode in particular about the World War II references. Especially, there's a shot when Anakin's team and Ahsoka are breaching the wall, and there's just basically this long panning sprint to the where the battle droids are. And if you're a World War II film fan, there's a movie called The Longest Day. That was a direct homage to a shot from that movie where they literally took a cable camera, said action, and guys are running, pyros going, and this camera is just dragging along this long stretch of coastline, and whatever it catches. Usually in movies, animation is used as a previs for live action. In this case, the live action was the previs for something we see in animation. It was just a beautiful shot, and anybody who's a big World War II movie fan was doing like the Leo DiCaprio, like, there it is. Like, as soon as you saw it, you knew exactly what he was trying to get across.
And what was the movie again? What was it called?
It's called The Longest Day. It's one of those cast of thousands, John Wayne, Sean Connery. They cover the entire D-Day invasion from different perspectives and bounce back and forth. But there's that one shot that's a very famous shot because it's a very long one take kind of thing. And they did it beautifully in animation.
Okay. And then, and that's, like you said, that's very similar to what we saw in this episode.
Yeah, because they had 3 teams doing different aspects.
Right. And then that run towards the that defensive wall
that they weren't supposed to be by. Anywhere near it.
But line, no battle plan survives up to the first punch.
Yeah.
It's no battle plan survives first contact with the enemy. Yeah. And what's the other thing about that? Because there's another thing about a punch. It's like
something like boxing.
Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know, something like that.
I don't know. I've never been punched in the face, so
no. Well,
not in this beauty.
No.
It's not going to happen if they didn't have Palpatine in the room with them as they were discussing the plans.
Dude, as soon as I saw him, I was like, "This is a trap."
Go well.
This is a trap. It's all. Well, I mean, they're always a trap because he knows everything, and he's telling. I mean, he's playing both sides, so he does what he wants. But yeah.
And especially because this is a rematch of the fight we all saw in the beginning of Clone Wars in Episode 2. It's like the clones know the droid and the Geonosian tactics, and they upped their game, and so did the Geonosians. Luring a team, into a cave where they don't have air cover. The bugs are the air cover and can just pick these guys off. Meanwhile, the clones are packing flamethrowers for some reason, and you're like, that's not meant for droids. That was meant for the bugs. Very Starship Troopers-esque.
I felt bad because I started laughing. Like in the background, you can see the ones that got hit with the flamethrowers and still trying to fly off. They just look like little flaming angels. It was kind of funny. I shouldn't laugh, but it was hilarious.
And then plummeting to their deaths. But
Yeah.
So a couple things in this episode that might have been missed. So if you did miss it, go back and watch it again. Waxer and Boyle are back. They're kind of a funny little duo if you guys remember them from season 1. And Waxer has this cool little cartoon cartoony representation of Numa on his helmet.
She was so
It's very cute. So we are seeing more, the more individual personalities of the clone troopers are coming out, and how sweet is that? That he made that connection with someone on a planet that he may never see again.
right.
So it was. Go ahead.
I was agreeing.
Oh, okay. So, and then, and Sherry, you had asked, how old Ahsoka was.
Yeah.
During all of this. So 14 years old at the start of the war, and then 17 years old at the end of it.
So again, Star Wars is whatever age, it doesn't even matter. It's the maturity level. I kind of like that because I think some people take even children for granted that are a little more mature.
Yeah, put them to work, put them to war. Why not?
I'm not saying send them to war, but I'm just saying they might have good ideas as well. We need to also listen to that. But,
yes.
But that's how I felt the episode was, at least for that little portion.
But I do think that we could send children to war, because why not? There's a lot they can hold it. In other countries they do it. So but that's again, that's the Jedi. That's the Jedi way. We're gonna
teach them young
babies. We're gonna teach them how to fight by the age of 14.
But it's not the Jedi way, because Padme was 14. She was a queen. So that's not the Jedi way. That's Star Wars.
The Star Wars universe. So apparently
they age different.
Apparently,
on the other hand,
about child labor laws. So
what, Tony?
On the other hand, we've got Grogu, who's 50 and barely doing anything.
Right. Yeah. But they live for hundreds of years. So
sure.
I just think Grogu's lazy.
He's not lazy. He's a little cutie.
Yeah, he's cute, but he's lazy. Come on, put him to work. He's 50. Ahsoka was only 14. Look how much she accomplished in just 3 years.
The race is different.
Yeah.
Different race.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't see race in these things. I'm sorry. All right. So what are we doing with the midichlorians here? How many what's the midichlorian count for this episode? Crash.
I'm gonna give it 5. This cooked like a flame-throwing clone trooper.
I agree. I'm also giving it a 5. Action-packed, non-stop, not a lot of filler. It just went. Loved it.
I'm giving it a 3.
Giving it a 3.
Yeah, 3.5.
Oh, okay, 3.5. All right.
5. It was all right.
All right.
I like the action, but it really wasn't. Didn't really do it for me.
Didn't do it for you. All right, that's fair. Tony.
I'm going with 4.5 on this one. This was a great episode and a really great example of this series getting dark.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
And just to go back to something we talked about in the pre-show, this was the first time I think we saw the Jedi as vulnerable, not just, with the, in like the micro series and some of the other stuff around this era, the Jedi sort of just leap into situations and you think, oh, even Obi-Wan, we know Obi-Wan's going to survive. But in this episode, when, things were at their worst, the droids and the Geonosians had their tanks circled, and they were closing in. There was a real moment of, you can see on Obi-Wan where we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Until my Y-Wing boys from Shadow Squadron came in and kicked some butt, they were in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, that was... Yeah, but again, everybody except Anakin. Anakin is the only one who never really worries unless it's about his Padawan. Well, not just his Padawan, but, other, people he cares about. But other than that, he has no fear. He has no concept of defeat. He just he just goes.
He's kind of like a Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost wonder, and I have no idea if they thought that far ahead into it, but when you basically tell a kid before you even start really training him that he's essentially a chosen one, does that give you that era of invulnerability where, like, yeah, fuck it?
I don't know. That's an interesting point.
I mean, he knows he's good, and I think that's the thing too. Is like he absolutely knows that he's good, like, and he's very good.
Yes.
But there's an air of arrogance there, which obviously he has.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
More and more common in Jedi these days.
Yeah.
Especially the young ones, for sure. All right. So moving on to episode 6, the Weapon Factory. This one was pretty interesting in that we got to see the dynamic between other Jedi and their Padawan versus Anakin and Ahsoka, who like Luminara said, you know, they kind of play fast and loose with the rules and the tradition. So I mean, you know, we see Barriss and Luminara walking up to Anakin and Ahsoka, and they're just, you know, the first thing Luminara says is, "Oh, they're at it again."
Yeah, that was so funny.
Right. You know, so, and then, you know, we see Barriss offer this, you know, wonderful formal bow and greeting to Ahsoka, and Ahsoka just is like, "Oh, what's up?" Dabbing him up, like, "Hey, welcome."
Like, what's up? But I don't think you're in a war situation. Like, why are you curtsying? Are you kidding me right now? I mean, I get it. She's been in war. Ahsoka's seen a lot already.
Ahsoka has seen a lot. Yeah. So I mean, she's pretty battle hardened at this point. You know, like they're like I don't even think like even a year into the war yet at this point.
And she's seen so much.
And she's seen a lot. She's seen so much. So that was nice to see that with them. And again, we do see more of Anakin's fear, you know, of fear of loss. Because when they went down in that tank, you know, he wasn't going to leave this planet without them. Mm-hmm. You know, he didn't even want Ahsoka to go because, again, the episode was about trust. That was the moral of the story in this episode. That was the theme. But I don't think it was ever about Anakin not trusting her. I think it was more about him being afraid of losing her.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. It's her when she kept saying, "You don't trust me." And no, it's not that I don't trust you, but then he can't express like I would. Yeah, he would throw himself into the deepest hole for her. And
he would literally move a mountain.
He literally,
and he did.
Lifting that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Luminara and Luminara brought it up. Luminara said, "Hey, you know, don't you trust her?" And he was like, "No, it's not that." And she was like, "Well, what is it?" And he was like, "Nothing." He, you know, and we see the camera zoom in on her, like she senses that fear, like she, you know, I think she felt it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I thought this was an interesting episode. I thought it was nice to see, and we will see this, you know, in another episode in this batch of, you know, showing how Ahsoka is that much more advanced than other Padawan who should, in theory, have the same level of experience as she has. At the same time, like for me, there's kind of this, and you know, we touched on other episodes of the, you know, if the whole thing is for a master and a Padawan to be together, then why don't we have Luminara and Barriss together and Anakin and Ahsoka together? Like the splitting them up wasn't necessary for this.
You're right. You know, it's kind of interesting how they split the Padawan and Masters, because, you know, you think the youngins are more spry. Yeah, if anything, you would think the Masters would have gone on such a dangerous mission to protect their Padawans from being placed in a scenario they're not ready for.
Right.
And it's like, well, why would you? But it's also, Ahsoka is sort of the eyes of the viewer in this series, obviously, because she's a fresh character, and this is sort of her first test with someone her own age.
Sure. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like, obviously, they made a point of saying, "Hey, Barris knows the plans. She knows the whole structure down below ground. So obviously, she had to go."
Mhm.
And again, for the story's sake of showing us the difference between the two, it makes sense that Ahsoka would go with her for that. But as a strategy, it's not the best one.
Right.
Oh well.
Yeah.
It still works.
It seemed a little odd in reality versus, like, for the sake of a story, how the two Padawans went on the dangerous part of the mission instead of the master. You think they would have sent a master and a Padawan,
Right.
as much as that dynamic of their relationship is about that. But at the same time, this was sort of Ahsoka's first test with one of her peers. She's worked with Plo Koon, she's worked with Obi-Wan and Luminara on missions, but now she gets to go on a mission with someone her own age. It's like kind of like hanging out with your cousin that you don't see all the time, and you realize we don't have a lot in common.
Well, and I also think it was a little test for Barris herself.
Sure.
She just wanted to get her Padawan out into the field. Like, let's see what she can do when she's on her own. So I think that.
And we've seen Padawans sent back to the temple. Ahsoka's been sent back to the temple for more study,
right,
during the war.
Right.
I don't think Barris Ophi is in the field with Luminara all the time.
Nope, I don't think so. Because she wasn't with her when her and Ahsoka,
When Ahsoka was there.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe they're just trying to touch on the youth a little more.
Yeah, just trying to show the that they can be they're capable and they can actually be trusted and and all that good stuff. So
this was a good episode, I thought.
Yeah. All right. So what's the midichlorian count? What are you guys thinking?
I would give this one 3.5.
Sure.
I would give it a 5. I liked it.
Okay.
The storyline was interesting and how they saved each other, and I think they did a really good job. It was, I don't know, I really like this episode.
Okay. All right. Very good. Crash, what about you?
4. I think it's a solid continuation, even with a different plot line. But we go from the invasion episode to the here's the final strategy. Instead of a big arc, 3 teams of Jedi, now we're dealing with 2 Padawans on their own. And I thought that was very interesting.
I agree. I think I'm also giving it a 4 for that. So good episode. It was a good episode. So next one up, I don't think we lost anybody in that one. I don't think we've got anybody for the Wall of Remembrance on that one. I don't think anybody died in any sort of horrific way. So yeah. All right.
On this one.
Yeah, no, I didn't think. No, nobody. Everybody was. There were some basic explosions and blaster hits and things like that, but I don't think any of our clones really got brutalized in this one. So, all right. So next, Legacy of Terror, episode 7. This one gave us some zombie bugs, which was very interesting. Also, Obi-Wan had mentioned, and this was the second time he mentioned it. He's questioning why the war is dragging on so long. Like, he's starting to get hip to the fact that there are some other things happening here. It's not just a regular war. Something is going on, and he's starting to really recognize that. He only touched on it very briefly, but this is the second time in this arc that he mentions it. So I thought that was interesting. We had a couple of zombie bug troopers that get pulled off into the walls screaming. So thoughts and prayers to them. And we get a named clone, Gear Shift. He gets pulled away by a zombie bug, and his companion was like, Gear Shift, no. And they were like trying to pull his. Remember, they were trying to pull his helmet off. And Sherry, you were wondering if they had put the worm up his nose, but he
just took care of it.
They just straight killed him. So very interesting episode. Very different, because now we're seeing a bit more of Geonosian culture.
Yeah,
especially with the Queen. So what are your thoughts on this one? I thought it was a good episode, but there wasn't a lot of I don't know. I don't think there was a whole lot of growth one way or another. Nothing major that stood out to me. What do you guys think?
I think it was like suspenseful.
Yeah.
That I thought it was a very obviously with the zombies and all that stuff. But the queen was smart trying to get Jedi. It's hard to get Jedi, but she was smart. If she would have got enough of those things inside of a Jedi in multiple Jedis,
Imagine if she would have got Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Oh my God.
I mean, brainwashed, zombified Anakin and Obi-Wan. Can you imagine the damage they could have done?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, look what the Padawan did. And she was.
Look what the Padawan did. Look what Barris did.
And that I again, it was her and Ahsoka together. And I liked that episode. I really liked this episode. I thought it was good. They worked together. This is the next one. That's the next one when they're when they're together. I know but it's fine. It's a story arc.
It's all good.
It's a story arc. It's all going together. So no, I get it.
So anyway,
So this one we got to see the queen of the Geonosians.
That crazy bitch. I mean, she's crazy.
So I will say the thing that stuck out in this episode the most to me, and you guys make a point of, there's not a whole lot of growth in this episode. I mean, it's Obi-Wan's focus on trying to learn more and wanting to take one of these little bugs home. Really stuck out to me as maybe shades of Qui-Gon and even Dooku's leadership. Just that natural sense of curiosity, and of course, the play between him and Anakin is just like, all right, well, you do you have your fun, you do your studies. I'll be here to wreck shit when it goes bad. I just thought that's a fun little dynamic, but it was interesting to see that side of Obi-Wan because we haven't seen it too often, at least in this show so far.
Right.
This is a great sci-fi version of a classic horror movie. The two heroes go into a tunnel, and you find creepy things, and you can almost compare it. It's like a little bit like Aliens, where there's the queen monster at the end that you find out where the Geonosians come from and all these eggs and stuff, and the dynamic. One guy wants to study it and is finding it fascinating. The other one, just like you said, just wants to wreck stuff and get out of there alive.
That was so funny. Obi-Wan's like, I wanted to keep it. What? Dude, no. Study the bottom of my shoe. It was so funny.
That was funny. That was funny from Anakin when he was like, yeah, you study the bottom of my boot. Okay. Yeah, no, that was good. All right. So good episode. What's the midichlorian count? What do you think of it? Crash.
I'm going to go 3 only because it's such a departure from what we've seen so far. You went from the war storyline more into a horror monster storyline in a blink of an eye, and you're like, wow. But it's a good storyline, and it'll play well into the next episode.
Right. It's a nice lead in to the other one, to the next episode. So, Sherry.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3 too.
Okay.
Just because it was a fun episode. Maybe it dropped on Halloween. I have no idea. And they just wanted to throw in something fun there. I mean, I don't know. We'd have to look up the date, but
no, it was November. This one dropped in November. Yeah.
That was just funny to me. So
it would have been a cool Halloween episode though.
Yeah. It's like we're getting zombies. Are you kidding me right now?
Zombie Geonosians, no.
Well, there was a Star Trek episode, the same thing. So
I don't know.
Yeah, so it was Next Gen, and it's the same concept of the bugs, the parasites getting into the humans and controlling them to take over the Federation.
They're slowly infiltrating the Federation.
Yeah, yep. That's actually one of my favorite episodes. So if you guys want to watch it,
it's so good.
It's fun.
And to go that dark on a season 1.
It's so dark. I mean, it's so dark, and he blows up. Anyway, spoiler, but
maybe we should do a Star Trek podcast.
Oh my God, I would love it. Are you kidding me? But yeah, so that's one of the good Next Gen. It's so cheesy. It's the monsters are horribly done. So bad, but yeah, so that's what this reminded me of.
All right. Tony, midichlorian count. What do you think?
I wanted to give this a 3.5, but there's a couple of plot holes that it leaves going into the next episode, so I can't go higher than a 3.
You can't go higher than a 3? All right. I think I'm right there with you guys. I'm going to do a 3.5 because I did like the back and forth banter, and I did really like the horror movie vibe of it. That's all. I like horror movies, so that was fun, and the aliens vibe. It was really cool. It was, an alien queen in Star Wars. That was awesome. All right, so going to the next episode 8, Brain Invaders. This one was pretty cool too. We're seeing a lot of individuality with the clones. I think it was it Tango Squad? Is that the guys? Tango Squad, maybe? I don't know. We'll have to look that up. But we got a lot of named clones in this one, which always kind of scares me because I feel like every time they give us a name, that means that someone's going to die. Like that's and I think we only had a couple of deaths, but it was still like these poor guys got messed up. So what was it? Clone Trooper Scythe. He was the first one. He got the parasite in him. Who else was it? Edge. Now this was interesting. This has nothing to do with the story, but I was just wondering Edge, he had like a silver white hair and blue eyes. He had like light blue eyes. So him and Ox were the two clone troopers that walked into the mess hall when Barriss and Ahsoka were in there, and they attacked Barriss and Ahsoka. And Edge, he had, I thought it was interesting that he had light blue eyes. I understand the hair color because they all dye their hair, or they all cut their hair different. I mean, obviously Rex, we see him with blonde hair, but everyone usually always has brown eyes, except for this guy. And I thought that was very interesting. Do you think that's some sort of maybe like an anomaly? Was it, like I don't want to say like a defect, but I mean, it's definitely like a genetic mutation, maybe. But usually not the Genosians, but the Kaminoans.
Kaminoans.
Yeah, usually the Kaminoans they filter that stuff out. Like they're not going to let, that would be part of a bad batch right there. So, that trooper would have been identified early on and probably wouldn't have made it really past infancy. So I find that I don't know. And I couldn't find any explanation for it online.
You wonder if there's like an acceptable level of variancy in like cosmetic features like that, like the eye color, hair.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's dyed hair color or they just, some kids grow up blonde, some kids grow up, dark hair. Maybe there's just an acceptable level that doesn't impact their soldiering ability, that the Kaminoans just kind of go, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I know, like later on, I can't remember what season it's in, but later on, there's we get these clone troopers that they all have different accents. I don't know if you remember this. It was, again, this is I think we're pretty far away from this. I think it's around the time that we meet Clone Trooper 99. I think it's around that time, like whenever somewhere along. But all these clone troopers are hanging out in the barracks, and there's like a group of like 4 of them, I think 3 or 4 of them, and they all have different accents, which I thought was very interesting. I didn't know if that was, like they were just trying on, something for a little bit more individuality. They were trying on new accents for themselves, or
D. Bradley just needed to like expand the repertoire a little bit, just
yeah. I guess he just needed a break or something. I just wanted to switch it up. I don't know, but this guy, Edge, Clone Trooper Edge, I don't understand the blue eyes. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's pointless to probably even theorize about it, but
I imagine that it just comes down to hey, we wanted to be able to visually distinguish And considering the clones, there's only so much that you can do. So they just decided to do this. And there's a reasonable explanation of a genetic mutation, whatever.
Sure.
I mean, I have no idea. Like I know in our world, you can just get colored contact lenses to throw in your eyes just to be a little different.
But
I don't know if that exists in the Star Wars world, so maybe it does. I don't know. As far as the accents, I mean, I know a lot of people that I grew up with that, we all grew up in the same area, we all talk the same way, but having spent enough time apart, you adapt some natural linguistic traits from the places where you've been.
Sure.
So I'm not familiar with this episode that you're talking about, but
yeah, we'll get to it.
If these people all haven't part of the same troop, it might make sense that they've been separated. They've been on different planets doing different things. And so they've adapted that and brought it back.
All right. But that's a good point. All right. So the episode itself, what were your thoughts? We see Anakin once they've got Poggle the Lesser. We see Anakin dipping a toe into the dark side, force choking him. But did you notice that they also played the Imperial theme? Like as he was walking towards the cell and he told the guards, leave us, they were playing the Imperial theme. They were playing Vader's theme.
That was a clear sign to the audience that this is going to be a hint of Vader. You're going to get a whiff of Anakin's dark side, much like when they were, gang mind tricking Newt Gunray. There's a line Jedi don't cross unless they really, really feel they have to. Anakin just hopscotches over it when he's in the mood. He don't care. Again, he'll move mountains for his Padawan.
Yeah,
he'll choke a Geonosian to save his Padawan.
Yeah, I mean, this is very clearly the closest comparison we've gotten so far to his fear of loss will bring him to the dark side.
Oh yeah.
So that was a very nice cue for that. So I know I mentioned it in the previous episode. The previous episode for me left kind of a couple of plot holes, and the big one for me is, Obi-Wan made a whole point of, I want to study these things, and you killed the one that I wanted to study. Why on earth did they have an entire backpack full of them? And if they did, why was Obi-Wan care about the one that got killed? Like, to me, that was like, if it were me, like, and of course I have the benefit of hindsight in retrospect. Like, you had enough clone troopers that died in the previous episode. You've shown that these things can reanimate the dead. Why not just have one of those ones that died be infected with one of these and sneak aboard to do it? Like, to me, that would have been a much better justification for how this happened as opposed to the way that they did it. Now, it's fine, whatever. It's just a throwaway thing. But to me, that was kind of wait, why did you make this whole big issue about it? But whatever.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, my thing was, where did Scythe get all those fucking eggs? Yeah. Like, he was chilling, taking a nap. He got infected, and I mean, as far as I know, everything else was like buried underground. As the troopers were leaving, they shot out those support posts, but he had a backpack full of eggs. Like, he didn't just have one or two. I mean, this motherfucker had like a backpack full of eggs. Like, where did he get them? When did he have time to collect all of them?
And that's what I mean. If you had made it one of the dead troopers, okay, he's had time because he's been assumed dead. He sneaks away, does that, comes back. The only people that saw him die are now gone, so he can sneak aboard with the other ones,
or maybe take them aboard. So, like, you know what? That would have been cool too. Like, if one of the troopers is presumed dead, and they're brought aboard that medical frigate, just but they would have put him in like some kind of a cold storage, and that would have killed the parasite. So maybe that's why they didn't do it. Because now that I think about it, since it was the cold that killed him, if you would have taken that dead trooper and put him in there. But still, I mean, I get it. I get, like having zombie Scythe walking around, but yeah, the whole backpack full of fucking eggs. Come on, man. come on.
Yeah,
Get
it's
out.
just a little weird
Right.
for me. But
I
that
agree.
being said, I really enjoyed the episode. I again, and I touched on this briefly when you might have been cut out. I thought it was nice to see Ahsoka paired with Barris again to just kind of show the difference in. Yeah, they're both Padawans, but Ahsoka is far above and beyond where Barris is.
Yes. Yes, because she's definitely seen more action. But I like that they were able to just have for a minute anyway, just a quiet, peaceful meal. Two young people, able to that can relate to each other. You know what I mean? Ahsoka hasn't been around anyone her age, or even another female. So now here's another female Padawan, maybe the same age. I don't know how old Barris was at the time, but that must have been nice for Ahsoka too. It's like, like you go to your parents' house or whatever, your aunt and uncle's house, your grandparents' house for the holidays. There's no other kids there. And then somebody else brings a kid over, and the first thing you do is you beeline towards that kid and say, hey, you want to play? And I feel like maybe this was something that Ahsoka really needed. She needed that time to be, a young woman interacting with another young woman, maybe, or at least another Padawan, because she doesn't get to hang out with Padawans either.
Right. Well, I mean, those are my primary thoughts. Again, I really enjoyed the episode. I thought that, we see Anakin's, potential to go nasty in order to take care of who he needs to take care of. Again, we get to see Ahsoka stepping up and showing how much more advanced she is than other people around her level, in theory. So I really enjoyed this episode for those reasons.
Yeah,
I think this episode really demonstrated. Again, we're talking about hints of things that we know will happen in the future. The zombified clones. There's just the diner scene. There's very hints of Order 66. These kids are having a quiet meal, and all of a sudden these two clones come in and just start shooting up the place. And it speaks to the adaptability of Ahsoka's training with Anakin, that she was able to evade the clones who know them better than anybody else does. Right. Whereas Barris kind of walked right. I thought, we talk about how this season isn't afraid to go into dark places. I thought the way they did, I call it the silent scream, where like the ray shields go up as the clones are impregnating the creature into. I was like, oh, that's just haunting, because she's like screaming her head off in terror, but you can't hear it.
Yeah, like she started to, and then it's just those ray shields went up and then knocked it out.
Yeah.
So, and they did. I did like that they showed restraint. Barris and Ahsoka. Barris did take out Trap. But I mean, he was on her, so I kind of get it. I mean, but then she immediately killed, the parasite. But actually, the parasite came out of him after she sabered him.
Yeah.
But but I did. But for the most part, they did show quite a bit of restraint and not killing the clones, which I liked. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we're going to be seeing more of that as we approach season 7 and the inevitable start of Order 66, unfortunately. So, but all right. So, Crash, what's the midichlorian count on this?
Oh, I give it a 4. I think this, the last movie was sort of the classic horror movie. This was a straight up slasher thriller, like kind of thing. Especially, it's weird seeing your friends turn on you.
Yeah.
That suddenly, and knowing your tactics and knowing your tendencies, you don't know who to trust, let alone except yourself. And I think that really played well in this episode.
Very true. And there were more alien vibes in this, trapped on a ship with, alien creatures that want to eat your face, or murder you or whatever. But that was, so I like that. That was very cool. Tony.
I'm giving this 5 midichlorians. And the biggest reason why, when Ahsoka temporarily incapacitates Barriss, and she's laying on the ground and gets control of herself for just long enough to say, kill me.
Kill me.
Like,
yeah.
Holy shit. This is supposed to be a kid's show. You went there?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, that was. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And even in the aftermath, Ahsoka in the med bay after, you could tell that kind of haunted her, that a friend, asked her to kill her. It's like, that's a big ask.
Yeah.
For a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And I like the way that they filmed it, because, from the angle that we see Ahsoka, slicing with her lightsaber, you kind of have a feeling, because the parasite was hanging out of Barriss's mouth. So, you kind of have a feeling that that's what she did, but they shot it from that angle on purpose, obviously. So you really, and then cut to the next scene. So you really don't know, did Ahsoka just take Barriss out, or, to put her out of her misery? But, so I like that they went in that direction with it. Obviously we know what happened,
Yeah.
But, that was a nice touch. I really like that. So I'm also giving it a 5. I thought it was a really cool episode. We got to see, multiple layers from everyone in this episode. We got to see multiple layers, different facets from the clones, from the Padawans, from Anakin, so it was, there was a lot of reveals in this in terms of people's personalities and, again, clone individuality and things like that. So it's a very well done episode. I really enjoyed it. It was a good arc. I think overall it was a very, very good arc. It was a very good arc. So, and it's just going to get better. Like, from here on out, that's why I'm excited about this, because from here on out, like, the Clone Wars just get better. There's going to be some filler episodes here and there, but for the most part, we're in for such a fun ride. I'm so looking forward to it. We just need to get our equipment right, and then we'll be good. So
we'll get there.
We'll get there. All right. So homework for you, my little spacers. So you need to watch episodes 9 through 12 of season 2. And if you want, listen to our past episodes of our podcast. If you would be so inclined, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and give us a listen wherever you like to listen to podcasts. So it's time for our obligatory pimping. So, of course, you need to check us out. Check us out on social media at the SWS Show. We're on every platform, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast and our YouTube channel. You can check out our podcast on whatever platform you listen to podcasts, or YouTube. If you prefer to listen to the show on YouTube, you can. And if you want to get some merch, we just uploaded some sweet new merch items into our shop. So I just got a Letterman jacket with our logo on it. So I was like, Letterman jackets, what? We have some new Under Armour apparel in the shop. So if you're into that sort of thing, if you want some nice, Under Armour, fit, make that drippy, head on over to our website, circleofnerds.com/merch, and pick you up some of that nice new merch. We got some new stickers in the shop. So it's, I'm excited. New hoodies, new patterns, just all kinds of new stuff in the shop. So check it out. And if you want to know what's coming up, you can check out the timeline on our website, circleofnerds.com/the SWS show. And that'll let you know what's coming up for the rest of the season. So anybody got anything else on the way out?
I know he's not here tonight, but I want to remind our fans that Daddy Lou's got a paint coming up on YouTube on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So please check that out. I'm just sure he would appreciate it.
Yep. And that is going to be Yep. And that is going to be this coming Monday, the 20 what?
I think it's the 23rd.
Or 23rd. Yeah. So that's this coming Monday. So you're listening to this on Saturday. That's when we drop our show. So Monday. Check it out. So that's good stuff. So anybody have anything else? Nothing. All right. Well, thank you, Spacers, for joining us again this week. We do appreciate you. And as always, remember, if nobody does anything nice for you, do something nice to yourself. And we're going to see you all next week. Bye.